Kia ora, Richard.
Kia ora, Sharon.
Nice to see you again. At our last Olive Branch meeting, you brought an article that was actually an interview in Religious Dispatches 2023, and it was an interview that Candace Cello Hodge had with Peter Rollins.
Mm.
The title of it was Christians Should Give Up, in inverted commas, Christianity. So I wonder if you could just say a bit about what attracted you to the article and any highlights from it for you.
Sure. And Sharon, I won't say too much because I'm still getting on top of this, so to speak,
Yes,
or coming to terms with
yes.
Peter Rollins. And I don't even know how I came across him, but I think it was in some article where he used the word pyrotheology, theology of fire, an incendiary theology. And I first sent you an article called Pyrotheology and then came to the one that you've just mentioned. And we'll post both of those on our website. And just to show viewers, the three books that I bought as a special by Peter Rollins, and I'm not sure this is in chronological order of publication, but this one, The Idolatry of God, in which he goes so far as he goes beyond theism and atheism, in a sense. He's against any objectifying of God as a thing or person or reality alongside other realities. So that's that book, The Idolatry of God. It's radical, but it's not radical on a liberal continuum that finally gets to radical, although he does still discuss traditional theological doctrines or phrases such as the crucifixion or salvation. He has a particular view of the crucifixion, I should say, which says that the crucifixion itself, if we take it seriously, is the death of all that we have believed in. That beliefs themselves start to collapse, and we're left naked and vulnerable in this world of today. And this one, The Divine Magician, he likens traditional theology to a kind of magician's trick where you pose a problem and people can't see the way out of the problem, and then you pull a rabbit out of the hat with the solution to whatever the problem is. And his thesis seems to be that we just don't have a God who is a magician to pull rabbits out of the hat, to give solutions. In fact, he wants us to give up the idea of solutions and a satisfaction of desires and a blessing of wholeness. He says those things aren't there, although the church maintains they are. And the clergy keep up this, pretense is a harsh word, but keep up this narrative that there is a solution to all life's problems, and we will find our wholeness if we follow this particular path. And he's intent on collapsing that view of things. And he says it's only in as much as we acknowledge that we are without solutions to life's ultimate questions, and without protection against life's threats and vulnerabilities. It's only when we embrace life with its contradictions to the full that we might experience what theologically has been called resurrection.
Mm.
And finally, insurrection. So he has this interesting thesis that the clergy are in a terrible position because they're maintaining something in which they have doubts, but they can't speak forth those doubts professionally beyond a certain limit. And he says that liberal clergy themselves, although they have all sorts of doubts, they oversee a liturgy that is much more dominant and definite than their own personal view of things. and they maintain liturgically a traditional view of the world, even if they speak of something else from the pulpit. And he says most people don't believe Christianity to a full extent, because they have doubts, but they're not too troubled by that, because the church and the clergy do our believing for us. So the clergy can't, they're not in a position to speak forth their own doubts to any great extent, for fear that the whole edifice will collapse. But Peter Rollins would rather see that collapse, to see and to form a community in the midst of that collapse, or beyond that collapse, which deals simply with the embracing of life itself, and the understanding that whatever the Christian gospel is about, it's about love between people and the love of people for this world. So Sharon, that's as much as I want to say, really. And
Richard, gosh, you've summarised those 3 books so well.
Oh, thank you. He's a
complex, aren't they?
Yes, he's not really an academic writer. In fact, I'd encourage people who are interested in him to watch him on YouTube, because he's quite a compelling speaker.
Yes, there's quite a bit of stuff of him on YouTube, isn't there?
Yes. He's Irish background. I think he now lives in the United States. And he seems to be part of a movement called ICON. But even that, I think, is not too institutionalized. It seems to be fairly free form and fluid. So, Sharon, I hope people might be interested to follow up that name, Peter Rollins.
A bit more of Pete Rollins. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Richard.
Sure. Thanks, Sharon.